So you have here the large version of the moon cycle calendar that comes with the cards. There are 9 cards that teach you how to get the most out of your calendar or how to get the most out of the lunar cycle. The moon rules the emotions and the soul self, the feelings, the mother. In fact, we refer to the moon as mother, and the Latin root for the word month and mother all come from the same derivation. So they all basically mean the same thing. So when we look at this calendar, there are several different ways to look at it. So the first card is what tells you on the back side how to get the most out of your calendar. So that's what I'm going to start with. So there are 4 aspects to this calendar, just like there are 4 aspects to the lunar cycle. So the first aspect of the calendar is one you're very familiar with, January through December. It's your Western, like modern world calendar, okay? It's also depicted on the second to last ring where it lists the months and has them in line with the months in the center of your calendar. So you can use the traditional 12-month, Monday through Sunday, Saturday through Sunday calendar. So the second thing is where we're going to start our conversation, and that is this little section right here that depicts the seasonal path of the sun. So let's start there. I know we're talking about a moon calendar, but let's begin right there. All right, so we start with the very apex of January, and you'll notice the spokes that go around the calendar don't have dates that necessarily correlate with December. When it says the sun crosses 0 degrees into the constellation sign of Capricorn. Now these 12 constellations are actually what our sun precesses throughout the year. And they represent different temperaments or energies. And when we look at these 12 constellations, on the 21st of December, the sun crosses 0 degrees Capricorn, and that is called the winter solstice. And it is sort of the apex, the midheaven, the highest aspect to our year energetically. And these don't necessarily move. They do move, but it takes 26,000 years to make a full cycle. So we're here for just a blink of an eye. But when we look at these, from our perspective, the earth is spinning. So we see the sun go up and set every day. That's because we're spinning. Okay, that's called rotation. Then you have something called precession, because the sun is moving through these different constellations and they represent different energies. And to illustrate that, let's talk. So in the heavens, if you were to get the Star Walk app and download it on your phone, you can actually hold the phone up, and the app will show you directly in space what's out there. And you can follow it in a circle all the way around us, and you will see Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, okay? And these spokes represent the quadrants in space to which our sun precesses. And so let's take a deep breath right there, okay? But these spokes also represent the cusp of each sign. Now, when the sun hits 0 degrees Capricorn on December 21st, we start our new year in January in Capricorn. And then mid-February, mid-January, about the 20th, we move into Aquarian energy. And then the 18th, we move into Piscean energy. So let me talk about these energies for just a moment. There's so much garbage, in magazines and horoscopes. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the legitimate aspects of understanding the heavens and the effect they have on us through our energy body, through our chakras, and our temperament. And with relation to the moon, our soul, our emotions, and our sense of belonging. So when we look at this, Capricorn is disciplined, career-focused, governmental stuff. It has to do with the pragmatic, disciplined, professional, public reputation side of us. And that's what we do in January. We set our goals for the new year. We set intentions, resolutions. Everybody signs up for a gym membership. Well, around January 20th, everybody lets go and stops going to the gym so diligently because the sun has moved into Aquarius energy. And Aquarius is about making adjustments and connecting with groups and friendships. It's also social causes like protests and things like that. And then the sun on February 18th crosses into 0 degrees Pisces. And Pisces is empathic. It's sensitive to the spirit. It's sensitive to what's going on beyond the veil in the other world. So it's yoga, meditation, spiritual, any type of spiritual attunements. And then when the sun crosses 0 degrees Aries, March 20th, what happens is this is called the vernal equinox. And when we look at the whole calendar and the sun crosses the vernal equinox, that NASA, everybody calls that the first day of spring. That doesn't make everybody a new age hokey astrology like tarot card reader or whatever. It's science and the application of ancient studies. All right, so it is the study of these movements. So when the sun crosses 0 degrees Aries, that's called the vernal equinox. This is called the winter solstice when it hits 0 degrees Capricorn. That's how we know winter begins, because the sun has crossed into 0 degrees Capricorn. So when we get down to spring, what happens is we start to focus on what are we going to do? How are we going to remotivate ourselves after these original goals we made? And we start thinking about, the physical birth that's going on around us. So if you look at nature, I live just a few blocks away from a farmer who keeps sheep. So when I take my evening walks, I can hear the sheep bleating. And in the springtime, after the sun crosses 0 degrees Aries, guess what? There are a bunch of little baby ewes dancing around, driving my dogs insane. So Aries is about remotivating, and it's related to the physical body. And then when we get to April 20th, the sun crosses 0 degrees into Taurus, and Taurus is about finances. It's about finery. It's about material world, like beauty, and everybody starts thinking about their swimsuit body, okay? So it's material world self-worth. And then when the sun crosses 0 degrees into Gemini, May 21st, what are we doing around May 21st? Finals, end of the year tests. Gemini is about learning, processing, gathering information. It's definitely the lower mind as far as logistics, making plans, and learning. So that's end of the year testing. And then when the sun crosses June 21st into 0 degrees Cancer, and it goes from 0 to 29 degrees, and then 0 to 29, 0 to 29, 0 to 29, okay? When the sun crosses 0 degrees into Cancer, what do we do between June and July? Well, Cancer rules mother. It's the temperament of the home and the sense of belonging and the feeling that like you're cozying up, and it's the emotions. And Cancer is ruled, we're talking rulership like a lineage, like its driving force is the moon. So this is a moon cycle calendar, so this is a definite sign. But what do we do between June 21st and July 22nd? We gather with our tribe. And so Cancer rules the tribe, the home, the sense of belonging, family reunions. Then we enter, sun crosses into 0 degrees Leo on July 22nd, and we move into Leo energy. And Leo rules creativity and children, because they're our body's creation, and child's play and fun, and the ability to express yourself. And between July and August 23rd, everybody's on vacation, having a good time. And then we come back to Virgo. And Virgo is about analyzing information. It's about going back to school, regaining a routine for yourself and your kids, if that's your story. Then we enter on September 23rd, 0 degrees Libra. And Libra is about coming into my one-on-one relationship. So if I'm a child, it's like, who's my teacher this year? How can I develop a good relationship? Who's going to be my best friend this year? Who is my desk sitting by? For adults, I always know when the sun crosses 0 degrees Libra, I'm getting calls to do natal chart readings and solar return readings with couples. And a husband and wife will come in, or girlfriend, boyfriend, and they'll do this composite chart and learn about their relationship with each other. And I'm booked up. And then as soon as the sun goes into 0 degrees Scorpio on October 23rd, guess what happens? We have the light shift, so the days become darker, shorter. We work with shadow stuff, because when you get into relationships, it brings up all the shadow work you've now got to do. And so the other thing we do is we celebrate Halloween, which is like the shadow self time. And then the sun crosses into 0 degrees Sagittarius on November 23rd. And we're all like, peace on earth. And like, we're into these higher philosophies and this higher truth. And everybody has this celebratory attitude. And so if you ever meet someone who's like, that's me, born under the sign of Sagittarius, they talk like it's Christmas. So, because it is for us, we were born with our sun, which represents our identity in Sagittarius. So it's an energy we carry all year. So when we look at these, all of these affect us. It's how we map our year, from the winter solstice to the vernal equinox to the summer solstice, 0 degrees Cancer, to the autumnal equinox, 0 degrees Libra. And so this is on the chart, because as we get to this outer ring where we look at, just like the sun crosses the 4 seasons of the year, in 1 month, the moon crosses through 4 cycles, each 28 days. So, okay, so let's just take a deep breath there, because I've just given you a whole bunch of information fairly quickly. Now, a couple of things that you want to be aware of with this chart. These dates are not supposed to line up with January. This is our calendar. This is the celestial reality, however. And so this highest point is always when we tip into Capricorn. Lowest point is when we always tip into Cancer. And then when you go from east to west, you have Aries as we move into summertime, and Libra. So that has to do with the tilt of the earth that switches the seasons. So it's literally our movement that creates the seasons on our axis. All right. Now there is a chakra tie-in I teach in the 7 Chakras Mind Body and the Soul Weather training, but I'm not going to get into that right this second, because I want to understand the basics so you can get the most out of your calendar. So to get the most out of the signs, your second card takes you through the signs like I just took you through. And there's a whole lifelong study when it comes to understanding the signs and the energy and the temperament that we feel. So during the year, the sun moves on the winter solstice through Capricorn, setting goals, Aquarius, making adjustments, doing things your way, and then Pisces, this attunement right before the seeds are ready to burst and grow. And then Aries, boom, forward comes life. Taurus, we're preparing the earth, the garden. We're getting ready for swimsuit season, so we might be working on our, the way we look. And then Gemini, getting those end of the year processing so we can enjoy our summer. And then the summer solstice. Then we gather in family reunions. Then we go on family vacations. Then we come back to school. Then we're one-on-one. Okay? Then we're letting it go. And then we're articulating the higher meaning of our whole year. So this is a cycle that I don't make up. I mean, this has been studied for thousands and thousands of years. I've been studying this for a meager 25 some odd years. So when we look at your calendar, the signs, these are the pictures of the constellation. There's the symbol for it. And then there's also the symbol right here. So Aquarius equals adjustments, groups, social consciousness, trying to do things your own way. Capricorn, we've already talked about that, discipline, career, government, patriarchy. And Cancer, 180 degrees, matriarchy, the mother, the home, the private self, the sense of belonging. So there's an axis in each one of these that's axially significant. So when we step back from this and we understand the movements of the sun, why would I go through this when it's a moon cycle calendar? The reason I go through it, because it's a moon cycle calendar, is the moon is moving around us, so it's the closest planet to us. It has 4 cycles it goes through every single month, and it represents the pull on our energetic body and our emotions and our soul and our sense of belonging. It is the great mama. So mama has 4 phases to her cycle. And every cycle begins and ends with the new moon, all right? And then the first week between the new moon, because there are 4 weeks in the cycle, just like there are 4 seasons in the year for the sun. Between the new moon and the first quarter moon, energetic energy builds in us that articulates through our body and our soul as emotion, all right? And then we go through another week and we have a full moon and after the first quarter. And then we go to the last quarter and then we come back to the new moon. So there are these 4 cycles. So you have 4 cards that help you know what to do with each cycle. All right? Now, still, why am I talking about the sun when there's a moon calendar that we're referring to about the cycles of the moon? Well, the cycles of the moon don't occur unless it's in relation to the sun. A new moon, right here, is when the sun and the moon are like conjunct. They're together, they're in the same sign. They're like, they just belong. And then the first quarter moon is when the moon has moved 90 degrees away from the sun, and it's creating a square angle or a square angle like that. And then the full moon is when the moon and the sun are like in opposition to each other. They're like 180 degrees away from each other. And then the last quarter moon, they're now in an opposite square on the 180 degrees away from they were first squaring. And then we come back to the new moon. So the moon cycles occur only in relation to where the sun is on the chart. So the 2 are combined. And so when we look at your chart, it gives you this outer ring. Let me make sure I'm giving you all the right info. We've talked about the traditional calendar. We've talked about the cycles of the sun. Now we're in this furthest ring out here. New moon is where it always begins and ends. Next week we have the first quarter moon. That 90-degree angle brings up an inner struggle between the sun, which is your identity, and the moon, which is your emotions or your energetic body, all right? So, and how you belong in your identity, which is key. So when we look at this, that first week, that first quarter moon is the next phase in the lunar cycle. It tends to bring up inner struggle. It's in the first week of each lunar cycle as it transits 90 degrees to the sun. It's a time to evaluate. So that first week past the new moon is a time to start your evaluation of like what this month is going to be for you. And it happens through inner struggle. And it just so happens that we are on January 13th, that's today. It is a first quarter moon in Aries. And it just so happens when I was born under the sun sign of Sagittarius, but on the day I was born, the moon was in Aries. So yes, I'm the Sagittarius, which is like freedom-loving, like very philosophical, really optimistic. Don't fence me in, let's look at all of the truths. And my sun is in Aries, so anytime I feel emotional, I'm like Aries. I've got my arrow. I start pointing, getting really intense, because an Aries moon is a lifelong energetic for me. Just like on the day you were born, you can pull your natal chart or call me for a session, and I'll take you through the whole thing for you. So in addition to the sun being in Sagittarius at the moment I was born and the moon in Aries, which means my identity is a truth seeker and my emotions is motivated, the signs, because the earth is spinning, it will look to us like a sign is rising about once every 2 hours, because there are 12 signs and 24 hours in a day. So at the moment I was rising, Gemini, the teacher that gathers information and puts it together in a way you can understand it, was rising. So I am a Sagittarius sun, an Aries moon, and a Gemini rising. So think, teach, gather information, articulate it out. And so that's what makes up me, all right? Those are three of the 4 primaries that make me who I am. So, and it's the energy I came down to work with coming through here. So when we look at this first quarter moon, that inner struggle, it's time to evaluate. By the time you get to the full moon, outer circumstance stressors in the second week of the lunar cycle transits 180-degree opposition. You know, it's sort of like opposing the sun. And so that opposition is why the moon is brightest, because the sun is over here shining on the moon, so we see it. And again, it's time to show up on a full moon. And you'll see it because outer circumstantial stressors will bring things to a head for you that you seeded here, you evaluated here, and now you've got to show up and address here. And then we have another week pass, and it's the last quarter moon. It's a time to do inner work because you've come 180 degrees from that inner struggle, and now we're coming back, but instead of being this same square, it's this square. It's a 180-degree difference. So instead of evaluating, now you are ready to integrate. So that inner struggle that started over here has become, through the full moon that like brought it all to the surface, has become the ability to integrate the experience. And then by the time we get back to the new moon, we're ready to surrender and let go. So finding all of that, that's really key. So then also being aware of that the moon doesn't have a cycle without the sun. That's why this center section is in here. And so you have the monthly section that's traditional. Our modern culture uses the 12 months. Then you have January listed here. The sun moves this way, which is why we go January to December, because the sun is moving through that energy right there. So keep that in mind as we kind of work with this monthly lunar cycle. You can learn a tremendous amount about yourself energetically. And then again, you have a card. You have a card explaining the 4 different aspects of the calendar, just like the 4 cycles of the moon and the 4 seasons of the sun. And then you have a card explaining the signs, like how to interpret through those. You also have a key. Oh, this is Capricorn. Oh, there's the symbol for Capricorn. Oh, there's the symbol for Capricorn. So if I have a new moon in Capricorn that happens to happen when the sun and the moon are in line, and that connection on that new moon, that creates an eclipse. Ooh, that's big. January 5th, we start 2019 with a solar eclipse in Capricorn, taking responsibility for something new. But look what happens at the end of the year. Our final lunar cycle happens on Christmas, and it is another solar eclipse in Capricorn. So this year, wow, it's a time to kind of assess where you take ownership, because we're going to begin and end the year with that energy. And so when we look at this, you're looking at the moon cycle, yes, but it only occurs in relation to the sun. So then you have 4 cards. You have 4 cards here. You have your first quarter moon card that tells you what to do on the back. You have your full moon that helps guide you through that experience. You have your last quarter moon, which on the back it tells you what to do, and then your new moon about releasing and letting go. So these are the 4 cycles that are pictured in this furthest ring out around the chart. So new moon begins and ends the cycle. Then we go to first quarter moon, inner struggle, first week of each lunar cycle as it transits 90-degree angle to the sun. I don't know, that's lots of words. Time to evaluate. That I can do on a first quarter moon. But The first quarter moon in January will be in Scorpio. Ooh, deep, probing, surrender and rebirth of how I'm going to evaluate through the year. The first quarter moon in February is going to be in Taurus. Ooh, so it's going to be evaluating finances, like what's meaningful to me, my material world worth, my sense of beauty and connection. There's some inner struggle there. And then we go to the first quarter moon in March. Well, that's in Gemini. Ooh, I'm going to be struggling with some things I'm learning. It might be midterms. I don't know. So there it is. And I can get a sense of what that first quarter moon will be throughout the year. Okay. So then, in addition to the 4 cards that cover these cycles, I can go look at the full moon for each month. So it's like, it's this opposition. You're learning to work 2 poles to find balance because outer circumstantial stressors are bringing it up on a full moon. Ask anybody that works in law enforcement. Ask anybody that works in the labor and delivery unit of any hospital. Ask a marriage and family therapist. I used to work side by side with Rex Cokerhans. He was a marriage and family therapist for 30 years. And every full moon, there would be a line of clients sitting on the steps outside without appointments. And I just kind of mouthed to them across the waiting room, lobby, whatever. It's like a full moon. So just so you know, it helps you kind of manage the energy mindfully rather than the energy managing you. So then we get back to this last quarter moon. Oh, inner work, the 3rd week of the lunar cycle, another 90-degree angle. But it's time to integrate instead of evaluate. It's then going to the new moon, surrender in the 4th week of each lunar cycle as it transits 0-degree alignment with the sun. It's time to release and renew, thank heavens. So then I can set new intentions that will be even more powerful. So this helps me because it's got the dates of each lunar cycle, and on each moon it's got the sign. So each first quarter moon will be different because the sun is in a different sign, so it's at a 90-degree angle from that sign when the moon moves. So it helps me learn the temperament. So I could look at this. Ooh, the new moon, we started with the new moon January 5th, but we'll be through that first cycle and ready to let go. We're going from taking ownership, Capricorn, to taking action, like Aries, on January 13th. And it just happens to be January 13th today. A moon in Aries. That's intense. So shooting today at Fashion Place Mall. It would be so lovely if we could feel our own pain rather than causing it to others. You can. You know how to process it when you understand what the energy is being asked of you on an energetic level each month. So then after I take action, am I going to open my heart? Leo is royal, it's noble, it's creative, it's children. It's like this playfulness, but it physically rules the heart in your body. So here is a message. 2019, taking ownership and action over how you lead with your heart. Then the first quarter moon, the end of January, is how we'll end January with some inner work in Scorpio. So letting go of some shadow, doing some deep, deep digging and probing, visceral, deep stuff. And then the new moon, which will end this lunar cycle, occurs on February 4th in Aquarius, breaking up that old pattern. We're ready to break it up. And then to move forward, to make an adjustment into our 2019 and start the cycle from there with Taurus and Virgo and Sagittarius. Yes, I know I'm going to be feeling really good on February 26th because the moon will be in my sun sign that I was born in. So this is really, really intense. It's really, really beautiful. It's a really mindful way to manage your year. And if you have any questions, you're definitely welcome to post them below. I'll check back through here. I have a few more calendars to ship out if somebody wants one. Definitely, you don't have to have one. You can learn it by just watching this video. We begin and end this year with the total solar eclipse, partial, and then total at the end of the year. So you have a card that teaches you what to do on a solar eclipse. You have a card that teaches you how to manage the lunar eclipse that will follow. Because if you have a solar eclipse, you will have a lunar eclipse 2 weeks later. Lunar eclipses only occur on the full moon. Solar eclipses only occur on the new moon. And it occurs because the moon is either crossing between the earth and the sun, or the earth is crossing between the moon and the sun. So we're in a crossfire between our soul and our identity. So when we work with this, just keep in mind that these eclipse portals are a time where your chakras are being activated really, really profoundly. So, for example, the eclipse, and again, I'm asking you to jump the gun. I do a whole full comprehensive training where I teach you. For example, I've put, a 2-hour video class for my soul weather group up to be able to manage this 2-week portal to get the most they're supposed to get out of it. We talked about taking care on January 13th today, because Aries is the physical body and can sometimes represent violence. And here we have a shooting today because both of them are being squared. The new moon and the full moon energy. So keep in mind that working with it mindfully is incredibly, incredibly powerful. I can map what's going on here to my original natal chart. And so see what messages are happening right now are for my whole life, and what are just transitory experiences I'm just going to have as general growth throughout my progression. So, and also keep in mind that the moon and the sun don't make you do anything, okay? The signs don't make you do anything. Each one of these aspects of this conversation I've talked about tonight has a light and a shadow side to it. The light or shadow side is up to me how the energy manifests. It's all about agency. It's not about fate. It's about how you choose to work with the energy or have the energy work upon you. But it is weather. It's basically a weather pattern. So with the nodal shift on your cards, it explains how to do that. There's one bio card here that's me. So it tells you a little bit about the source you're getting this information from and how I've learned this over the 25 years I've been studying. So, but with the solar and lunar eclipse, these eclipses will only occur when they're close to something called one of the moon nodes. And a moon node is simply a mathematical point in space where the path, the lunar feminine path of the moon, and the Earth's path around the masculine sun intersect in the heavens. And the south node is where I come in. It tells you what I was doing and why it was time to be born when I was born. And the north node is where I'll go out by the time I'm complete here. So the south node is the root. The north node is the crown. So these nodal paths, sometimes a solar eclipse will happen at a south node going to the north, then we're working the liberating current, doing all the work up our chakras. Sometimes a solar or lunar eclipse will happen at the north to south, and we're opening up our ability to allow stuff to come through us in a different way. So I take my group through that step by step, and we meet in person once a year and gather at my house. We've got quite a few that do it long distance that don't come to those in-person gatherings, so I'm always giving you updates on the private Facebook group for the soul weather training. If you're ever interested in that, you can enroll online or message me for more information about that. But for now, this chart will teach you a tremendous amount about learning how to process your own pain and your own growth rather than causing it in this world we live in. And we're in desperate need of that, especially today, on a day like today, where we've had harm that's been done because someone was being worked upon by the energy rather than working with it. So it's very, very empowering to work with these lunar cycles. The moon is your soul. The sun is your identity. They were placed in the heavens by a source that their orbits and their movements are fixed. Their courses are fixed, and they're fixed for our own good and our own evolution. So I hope this is helpful in understanding the calendar. I want to thank everyone who's purchased one and supports the work that I do in the world. It's come at a high price for me, but I'm very, very motivated and honored to be able to teach it and for it to find its own audience. So, namaste. Mwah.